What's up, guys? Welcome back to another podcast. Today I have the owner of DOCKS Fitness, David Marshall. Where on earth have you been, mate?
Hello, Daniel. Where have I been? I've been all over.
Tell me about it.
Doing some stuff, mate.
Doing some stuff. We'll get back to that in a sec. But so, as I just mentioned, you're the owner of this amazing establishment here.
Yes.
So for the guys that are newer members that have been here for the last 3 months when I haven't seen you, this is the owner of this place. What made you start this place to start with? So let's get some history on this place.
Wow.
Because no one else can give us the history other than you.
The history of this place.
The history of this place.
So way back when I had a few less bags under my eyes, a few less miles on the clock, I was 23 and I was just finishing up my rugby career. I was having a few knocks on the head. It was just at the same sort of time where a lot of the information around like concussion and CTE was being published from the States with American football. And I was like, I'm not getting paid enough to get smacked on the head as much as I am. So I always had the idea about opening up a gym. Mm-hmm. I'd been exposed to CrossFit at the time during a rugby season over in the States.
Nice.
And I always had the inkling that this is something that I wanted to do. And then I'd love to say that there was like a really big, grand plan about what I was going to do, how I was going to go about it. But the honest answer is that I found myself just one day on Rightmove commercial online, and I was just looking at light industrial units, and then I was just looking at the cost, and I just started, looking on gym equipment websites, like how much are 5 barbells? Mm-hmm. I wonder how much that is. I wonder how much gym flooring is. And the story goes that I was looking at these units, and I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to arrange a viewing. So I called up. I called up a few different places, and no one would talk to me because I probably wasn't speaking their lingo. They probably just thought I was just some like random kid. And the funny story with this particular unit is that the online advert for this place was terrible. It was literally just one picture of, at the time, red shutter doors. I know they've now changed to blue.
They're green now, aren't they?
Yeah,
I'm sure they're red still.
Yeah, well, the inside's still red, but the outside at the time was also red. And it was funny because there were 2 different commercial agencies that represented this unit. Okay. So I called up the first one, and I was just like, "Oh, hi there. My name's David, and I want to open up a gym." And then within about 30 seconds, they were like, "Thanks, but no thanks." Yeah. So I was like, "Okay, that's a quick lesson learned." So I just composed myself, and then I called up the next company, and I was just like, "Hello there, my name's David Marshall. I am CEO of Marshall Fitness Limited. We're in the gym space, and we're looking to expand into the London area. We'd love to arrange a viewing." And oh yes, sir, absolutely. when can we meet? So I turned up a few days later, and a guy who I still remember his name. His name was Nick Hayward, and I think he was probably expecting some suit to turn up, and I turned up in like some rugby tracksuit bottoms and a hoodie, and he gave me the time of day. Nice. So I'm always really thankful to him for even giving me a shout. Yeah. So had a little look around the unit, and I was like, do you know what? This might be it. So I went away and put together a really crappy quote unquote business plan. Mm-hmm. And my plan was to rock up to a bank and sort of, beg for money. And before I did that, I called my old man. And I was like, do you know what? I think I might actually have found, I was like, Dad, do you remember that gym idea that I was telling you about? He's like, yes. And I was like, I think I might have found the perfect unit. Like, it's in a really cool area. And he, bless him, he was like, well, what's the plan? I was like, well, I'd love for someone else to come and see it because, I'm obviously looking at this through very like rose tinted glasses. Of course, yeah. And he drove down from Nottingham. We viewed it again with Mr. Hayward. And then we went upstairs to grab a coffee at the place upstairs. And then my dad just sort of looked at me and went, well, it's perfect, isn't it? And I was like, oh God. And he was like, well, the question is now, mate, what are you going to do about it? And that was it. That was kind of like the genesis of what was to come. So that was probably in early 2014, late 2013. Mm-hmm. And then I went and did my CrossFit level 1 in April 2014.
Okay, so you didn't have your L1 before you even looked at the unit?
No.
Right.
So I looked at the unit before I even had that.
Okay, cool.
I went and my L1 was up in Manchester. So it was actually at the Adidas/Reebok.
That wasn't 3D, was it?
No, it wasn't 3D.
CrossFit Manchester.
No. It was or was it Stockport? It was in the facility of like the because Reebok is owned by Adidas, and obviously Reebok's historically been involved with CrossFit, and it was in their like warehouse facility. They had a gym for the staff in there, so that's where my L1 was, and I attended that, and it was quite funny because as we were going through, they and I'm sure because obviously you all know all these tricks of the trade now, and I can remember them implicitly in that L1, one of the red shirts said something along the lines of, just even if you pass this L1, that doesn't mean that you're now a coach, and it certainly doesn't mean that you should go and open up a gym. And I was specifically there to get my L1 so I could then open up a gym. So I was like, oh, sod you, I'll do it my way. So I was there for the weekend, and over the weekend it was actually my anniversary with my girlfriend at the time, my now wife, and so I did the test, and I was desperate to get back home. So I was flying down the whatever motorway it was, and my car blew up, and
oh jeez,
my old Renault Megane died on me halfway down the M6 or whatever road it was. There was all these like random little bumpy, stories along the way.
Yeah.
And then even getting the unit was a bit of an ordeal. So I got my L1 in April 2014. I had this place under offer, which is basically like the terminology they say that before you've officially signed the lease that they just take it off the market. Yeah. Had it under offer for months and months and months because we were waiting to get the official planning permission for it to be used as a gym.
Changing the planning permission.
So that took much longer than it needed to. The lovely people at Newham Council weren't necessarily the most efficient, and I submitted my application, which is supposed to take a maximum of 12 weeks, ended up taking over 6 months. And the poor woman who was dealing with the application was a woman called Althea Clinkett, and I can still remember her name. So I did some like Sherlock Holmes investigative work to find out who was dealing specifically with the planning application for this unit.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I did it, but I ended up having her direct like phone number to her desk.
Right.
I called that poor woman twice a day, every day for months. What's happening with the application? Yeah. Where is it? What? And it went through. She hated me. I don't blame her. And it went through all this arduous process. We had to get like a flood risk assessment because we're next to the water. And I was like, right, that makes no sense. No. There's active businesses literally next door to us. Yeah. Why? So she just kept on like trying to push it away just so it was like one less thing for her to deal with. And after months and months and months, she then called me, or I probably on a call that I probably had with her. She turned around and she's like, how big is the unit? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, you've got all the information. And I was like, it's X thousand square foot. Yeah. And she turned around and she's like, oh, I can't even make a decision on this anyway because it's too big. Joking. And I was like, it's like the unit hasn't suddenly grown in size. Like, it's always been what it's been. So it ended up having to go to they call committee. Yeah. Where essentially a load of interesting people, volunteers within the community, meet to make decisions on things that they're really not qualified to make decisions on. So I went, it was on the 17th of November, 2014. Yep. Right. I turned up to this, it's one of the town halls in Newham, about a mile and a half away. And there's essentially like a dozen people sat in like a semicircle, and people would go up there and like say what their case is. Yep. And they would then just make a decision. Yeah. Based on being exposed to it for like 2 minutes. And I had this like this like war speech that I'd written where I was going to like talk about like Olympic legacy and how there's no gyms in the area and how it's based on community and all these other things. And it was funny because Althea Clinkett was also there, and she wanted to make sure that that it got pushed through because she was fed up with dealing with me. Of course. And I'd been chatting to this woman for months and months and months and months, and she stood up there and said, so Mr. Marshall has an idea for a gym. It's essentially where they do exercise to music. And I remember sitting there thinking,
You're a Zumba
she's
coach.
blown it. Like, I'm like, yeah, suddenly I'm a Zumba coach. I was like, I'd sent her so many documents on what this specific gym was going to be for and how it was going to operate. And she just obviously, after all these months, hadn't even looked at a damn document.
Anything, no.
Anyway, she did it. And I was like, I'm going to have to go up and pull something out my arse here to get this, pushed through. And then out of nowhere, one of this old woman who was on this committee just put her hand up and she goes, "Oh, they haven't got a gym around there. I'll be for it." And then 7 or 8 of the 12 put their hands up and goes, "Yeah, I agree."
Yeah.
And that was it. Planning
Job
application was granted. And I was like, after all that, all the stress and hassle that was caused, 7 or 8 people who knew nothing really about what we were doing agreed to it.
Had you done the work in here already, or
we'd taken a big risk in starting the work. And I remember it was the 17th of November because as you know, my old man's a builder, so we were in here building the place, and we took on like the commercial risk, assuming that we'd be able to, because we had the date for this committee.
Yeah.
So it was a risk because it was like if it didn't get through, then we were going to be in trouble. And I can remember it was the 17th of November because it was my dad's birthday.
Oh, okay.
So it was like throwing it down with rain. It was like 6 p.m. and I think we came back and ordered some pizzas or something. We ate them here, and
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. You took the risk though. Like knowing you, how long I've known you now, you enjoy not the risk, but you're quite optimistic on your approach to the world.
That's a delicate way of saying it.
You're just like, cool, we'll try it, see what happens. Let's go for it.
Yeah,
and you had a good chance of getting it anyway.
Yeah. I think the case with the gym specifically is that Googling and looking at this area, it was at the time and probably still is like the fastest growing part of London.
And shooting up around here.
Yeah, and just looking at like the layout of this specific unit, it just kind of made sense. And at the time, it's like, what did I really have to lose? Like I was 23, 24. No kids, like had a girlfriend, I didn't have a house, still don't. It's like what's the worst case that's going to happen? And there's something to be said for. It's funny actually. I had this conversation with Joe, who sat behind the camera earlier this week, where there's something to be said for the people who have ideas, but it's the people who actually then go out and action those ideas that I really respect. And that's something that I don't know if it came naturally to me, but it was something that I was really adamant that I wasn't going to go out without swinging, like swing for the fences, and see what happens. So that has definitely probably the success or the reputation this place has managed to gain has probably encouraged some of my other attempts at doing similar things, not all successful. But I think it's something that I'm definitely not risk averse.
Definitely not. That's a good thing though. It's a good thing. And now we're how many years into it now?
So the doors opened here on December the 6th, 2014.
So you smashed that build out pretty quick.
We smashed it out really quick. We were still, so the rig that people are still swinging on to this day, I installed that rig myself with very little building experience, as you know, Dan, at 3 a.m. On the 6th of December. Jeez. And we opened up our doors at, I think it was 10 o'clock. So we stayed in, there was on Airbnb, we found one of the flats here. So we stayed there for the last few nights on the build up to coming out. And I can remember we had the shutters open and we literally had people knocking on the door to come in. And I was still sweeping up. So 5 minutes before we even opened up for business, I still hadn't had time to even look and see what we're doing. It's quite funny now because I see how like other gyms in London, how they've opened, and they have like their facilities built and done and have soft openings and they do a load of marketing, and I just didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, well, we'll just open. And I can remember we signed up 7 people on day 1.
Winning.
And I was like, this is amazing. And then so in my head, I was like, well, at the end of the week, I'll have 49 members. I was like, and the goal was always to get over 100 members. So I was like, oh, well, I'll have 100 members in 2 weeks. Like that's of course sensational.
Easy maths.
Yeah, easy maths. I had 7 members on day 1, and I think on day 30, 1 month in, I had 7 members. So there was certainly a very steep learning curve in terms of how to market a gym, how to actually get people in. I was very much of the thought that build it and they will come, very sort of like Wayne's World, and it just wasn't the case.
That's fair. But it's now a thriving business. It's thriving, in my opinion, sitting here as the coach here. So I don't necessarily see all the business side of it all, but I see the members and how many members we've got now and the community that's come with this place. I mean, I've been here, 6 years now, something like that?
6
years?
So we met in 2015.
Yeah, 2015. So yeah, it's been a while.
That's the story that we should tell. So obviously the people might not know me, and they very much will know you now. Well, they know you're here all the time. Yeah, exactly. But so when we first met, it was a really good story. So we used to have, where all the bikes are over by the brickwork there, we used to have an office.
We did.
And it was lovely. It was nice and warm and cozy.
And a treatment room as well.
And a lovely treatment room. We were going to rent that out to osteopaths or chiropractors. That never worked. And it was really cool. So we eventually had to knock that down because we needed more floor space. And it was probably the best thing we've ever done because it opened up the space and made it look
But that was
cooler.
in December. I remember that because I'd only been here like a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I turned up and we were putting all the mats down. They turned up at 7:30 at night.
That's it.
All the members were chucking them down.
That's it.
Get us to do work for you. Beautiful.
I can remember you coming in and we sat there. So what month was it in 2015 when you joined?
It would have probably been November.
Yeah. So towards the end of the year.
October, November.
And I remember we sat and we had our meeting and you just had your CrossFit level 1.
Yep.
And you're like, I love this sport. It's something I want to coach. I'm really, really passionate about it. And I can remember you telling me there and then, I said to you, what are your goals with this? Because I wanted like a career coach. I didn't want someone who was doing it part-time. And you said to me, I want to be on seminar staff. I want to be a red shirt and I want to be delivering the L1.
Yep.
And I can remember that sort of really sticking with me this whole time because just in the same way that we were just talking about me taking that risk in setting this up and having like that inclination to go and do it, to bring an idea into reality. That was something that struck me immediately with you. I was like, oh, that's amazing. Like this bloke. And I could feel how sincere you were in what you were saying. And that's been amazing to see that goal that you clearly had then, the idea of that goal has then taken you 6 years to sort of bring into reality. And just to see how dedicated you've been to that cause along the way is sort of like testament to you. And that's probably one of the cool things about this place, whether it's just through dumb luck, is that it seems to have attracted people of like a similar ilk, both with the other coaches that we've got, but also with like our members and sort of the community that we've then built. And I think that more than anything, again, not through much planning or through any sort of deliberate action, that's been something which has been really, really cool to see and witness over the years in terms of just by the vibe and by the people that have been here, it's self-perpetuated that amazing culture and that amazing vibe. So
well, I often get that question from members when they hear that I'm from Hastings. And I still live in Hastings.
That's it.
And they're like, why? Like, why are you here? And this goes to testament to you though. It's like, you've let me grow here. And I've always been, I've come here because I get much more exposure to a much more variety of people. And the experiences I get here are so great that has allowed me to grow into the coach I want to be. Whilst you can be, as much as I love Hastings, you can be in a little box in a little town where you're not going to get the exposure and you can get stuck in your ways really easily. You have to push the envelope here. You never know who's going to walk through that door. I remember coaching and then suddenly I get a seminar staff come in and do a drop-in.
Oh, what was his name? The gymnastics guy?
No, that was Birdie. You told me Birdie was coming at one time, and I freaked. I was like, oh, but he'd come in with Mush that time.
Yeah.
No, it was a guy from Spain. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And he come in, and he sat on a bike and watched me coach for an hour because he wanted to do open gym. And he come in early, and I was like, oh, but I had to push the envelope. I had to be better than I was ever going to be because now there was someone who wasn't watching. Like he was never going to judge me. But to me, I was like, well, I need to show off and shine. And it's pushed me to be better. Yeah. And if you didn't know, I've made it onto staff now. So I'm now a red shirt and I'm still new to that. It's still like just as scary. I remember when I first started here, how nervous I was. Every time I used to rock up, I'd be like, oh no, I'm really nervous. And I have the same feeling now. So hopefully I'll feel the same eventually.
So just for context, people who don't know, so a red shirt that Dan's talking about is I'll talk the whole process if you don't mind, because I
Go
think
for it. Yeah, go for it.
you probably don't big yourself up enough. But
Okay, go on.
essentially, on the way to becoming a seminar staff member, you have to do your CrossFit level 1, then you have to do your CrossFit level 2, then you have to accrue X amount of hours over years and years of experience.
750 hours minimum.
You then have to then do your CrossFit level 3, and the CrossFit level 3 is a 3-hour exam, 4-hour exam, and the pass rate is what, 20%?
It's hard. It's a hard pass rate.
So you got to...
Yeah, being at L3 still at the moment makes you 1% of the trainers in the world holds a level 3.
That's it. So you have to have your level 3 before you can then even apply to be on seminar staff.
Yep.
And then over the last 6 months or so, you've been going through that process where they essentially throw you into the ring and see how you get on.
Yeah, you intern. So you do one seminar where you shadow and you just watch and you help, and they see if you're a good person, if you're good to hang out with, if you actually go beyond the call of duty. Do you know what I mean? If you're actually going to be a good person to hang out with, I'm guessing that's what they're feeling out for. And then as you go through, you get more responsibility. Yeah. And then eventually they go, go on in, show us what you got. Yeah. Okay, cool.
And how many seminar staff are there?
I think there's 200 in the world.
Right.
So, I mean, 200 sounds a big number until you say the world. And you go, oh, actually, hang on a minute.
Yeah. When you consider that there are...
I think there's 10 in the UK.
Right. Yeah. So 200 in the world. There are there's probably 17,000 official CrossFit affiliates.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
There's probably thousands more who de-affiliated. We'll talk about that in a minute.
We'll talk about that in a second, shall we? That awkward conversation.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the most impressive feat for sure. And it was something that I remember when you gave me the call when I was out in the States. Yeah. Because we obviously spoke a lot about the process you go through.
I was going through internship whilst you left, wasn't I? So I was having my final internship whilst you was away.
Yeah, I couldn't honestly, I couldn't have been more proud when I got that. It
cool.
Really made my day. It was like the most impressive thing, because short-term goals are one thing, whereas like I'm going to work really hard for a few weeks to get X result. But when it's like I'm looking 5, 6, 7 years in the future, and then to stay on the course for that long, super impressive.
I still say it's a testament to you and this gym as well. Not just that. No, I don't mean getting there, but if you think about the staff we've got here, majority of us stay for a long period of time, which means we're able to get comfortable and actually grow to who we want to be. We're not jumping gym to gym to gym to gym and trying to find a new vibe. Yeah. Like, I love it here. Like, I wouldn't change where I coach. Yeah. I love coaching here. And even though I travel for 2 hours, it can be to get here, it's worth it. Because let's be honest, many of the coaches don't live that close by. No. You live in where? Tunbridge Wells, middle of nowhere as well. So does Matt. We all travel in to be in this environment. We're not just next door. So I think it's, you give us in here the freedom to be the coaches.
Well, that's the thing, and we're not. And it's probably sometimes it's a fault, I would say, is that we're not overly structured. Like, we're not one of those gyms. For example, we're not one of those gyms that is like endlessly putting on social events and doing sort of like forced fun activities. I'm very much of the ilk that, give people the space and the freedom to operate. Yep. And, if they're in an environment they feel comfortable with. And then it's really cool to see how that's worked with like our members, for example. 100%. Like, obviously I've seen how like we've suddenly got like a turf games team, which has just sprung up. And it's like, that's something which, that's how it should be. It should be coming from them and them feeling comfortable enough to be like, we're just going to do this and organize that. And very much like with the coaches, it's like, who am I? Like I saw very early on, for example, what a good coach you are, certainly with like some of the older coaches that we've got. I mean, like with like Ben and Bart, it's like, who am I to sort of give advice and guidance on that? It's like, I should know, like I should stay in my lane. Yeah. It's like the amount that I've learned as a coach from you, for example. Like, again, I told you numerous times, the amount of times I've observed you coaching and just been like, Jesus, like we've got to make sure that we keep hold of him. So yeah, one of the cool things has been how long our coaches have stayed with us. Yeah. And how, this is where they coach. Yeah. And I see, not to criticize other gyms, but I've never liked that model where you have a coach that will coach like 7 different gyms across London. And it's like, how are you supposed to really integrate with that gym and that community if you're so transient? Yeah. Agreed. yeah, and again, you sort of like staying here for the time that you have, is something which I've really appreciated as well, because it's meant that I can then, as I have in recent months, take more of a step back, and I've obviously got such implicit trust in you to, mentor our new coaches, but also to look after the facility. And I know that obviously we've got that friendship and that loyalty, and that's something that can only come after having someone here for years and years and years.
Exactly that. And you just alluded to that. So you've been in about America. So enough about me, because I'm getting a bit embarrassed. So let's talk about where you've actually been. So you've been over in the States for the last 3 months. That's why the newer members here have not seen your face.
Correct. Yeah. So in trying to get my dates right. So in late 2019, I met a guy called Alex, a very, very, hopefully he won't watch this because his head's big enough as it is. But he's a very intelligent, very talented guy, and he had the idea of a new sports tech and health tech company. Cool. And he essentially cold called me and was asking some very odd questions about what we do here. And it became very obvious very early on that this wasn't a normal, hi, I want to join the gym sort of call. So I sort of called him out, and I was like, what's this actually about, mate? Like, what's this call about? And he told me about his idea. The next week, he then flew down from Scotland to come and meet me here. And we had a meeting in the office behind us for about 2 hours. Yep. We really hit it off, shared a few ideas. And then, essentially, he then asked me to get in the trenches with him and to co-found a company. So the company's called Suji, and it's a hardware and software company that helps athletes and people recover quick from injury, improve performance. And basically, we were very fortunate, and we got managed to get a little bit of investment in 2020 during the pandemic, which we were really, really thankful for. And then we kind of somehow got on the radar of a tech fund based out in Florida. Yeah. And they wanted to invest, and part of that investment was that they also had this amazing office space in a town called Lake Nona, just south of Orlando. And part of the investment was like, hey, we want to bring you down. They had this like incubator where there was like several different companies based in this office, and they help you with various workshops, and they help you with connections and various meetings with investors and the like. So it was one of those opportunities that just doesn't come around very often. No. So I had very interesting conversation with my wife, Hannah.
Yeah, I bet.
We had our son Arlo was 5-6 months at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't very old.
No, and we went for a coffee, and I sort of said, look, this is the situation. I can either, I can flip-flop back and forth across the Atlantic, or we can do, and then she just sort of stopped me mid-conversation. She's like, we're moving to America for 3 months, aren't we? I was like, if we could, it'd make my life much easier. Yeah. So I managed to have my cake and eat it too. Yeah. So we flew out there in like late August, early September.
It was mid-September, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. And so we were there, came back for Christmas, New Year's, and then we've now got a good American presence with the company. Yeah. So my time now for the next foreseeable, God knows how long, is going to be split between here and the States. So I landed back from the States yesterday morning. So I'm very jet lagged. It's like 3 a.m. at the moment in my world. So yeah, it's been really, really exciting. It's a completely different world from like a business perspective. Like you learn, I learned very quickly the difference between having a business and then having like this, like a company where where's the way that they're structured, and this whole other realm with investors and all these other pieces. So I've learned a huge amount. A huge amount. So that's why, for new members, that's why you haven't seen me. I've been out gallivanting.
Did you ever find out? So I've never asked you this. Why Alex chose you and why he cold called you that time?
He knew of the gym's reputation.
So it comes from this place, like the environment that you created to start with those many years back. the environment that you created here has given you a presence for him to be
Yeah.
like, oh, this guy's interesting. You know, let's have a chat to this guy, because it was otherwise like,
Yeah,
he
it's
didn't
been-
call me, did he? Do you know what I mean?
No, true, but but again, hindsight's a wonderful thing. You can always connect the dots when you look back.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of opportunities that this place has led to, and the
Yeah.
people that we've all met as a result of it, and the brands that have come in to use it as photo shoots, and
Yep.
some of the cool influencer types and athletes
Yeah.
that have come down, and obviously within like the CrossFit space particularly has been unbelievable, and that's been hugely beneficial to me with some of the stuff that we've got going on behind the scenes now with Suji, and
Yep.
and more so than that, it just helps with being able to like speak the language with athletes. Obviously, I've got a background in sport anyway, so that's always been very, very useful for me. But yeah, being out there and being able to have a little bit of clout behind you in terms of, oh, this is what I've done.
Yeah.
It makes it way easier to
Yeah.
have those conversations.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
great. And then a big shout out to Hannah for actually going with
Oh,
you.
she's
That's insane.
honestly, you've never like, yeah, I could talk about how
Yeah, but
amazing
I don't
she
think there's
is, but-
many wives / just had a baby would fly to the other side
She's-
of the world to basically let you do your thing.
Oh,
She's
and
there.
the amount of sacrifice that she made during that time was, because she's also got her own company as well,
Yeah.
so she had to very quickly set up a huge amount of like things infrastructurally with her company to make sure that could function without her being sort of boots on the ground
Yeah.
in her studio. And you know, essentially she might as well have at times been single mum out there. Like, we were suddenly in this like new environment where she didn't know anyone. It was quite an intimidating environment for me, never mind her, where suddenly, you know, there's all these other sort of like these tech entrepreneur
Yeah.
co-founder types, and you know, they were all amazing people, but it's a
different world.
it's a completely different world. It's a completely different world for me, and I
Yeah.
was like certainly having to do a fair bit of like fake it till you make it myself.
Of course.
And you know, Hannah's a designer and comes from a very creative world, so suddenly she sort of felt that she perhaps didn't have a lot in common with a lot of people, and
Okay.
so yeah, it was tough. And obviously having a 5-6 month old baby is tough anyway.
Yeah.
And our little lad is at times quite challenging anyway. He's not necessarily the easiest baby. So yeah, like the amount of sacrifice that she's made,
Yeah.
not just with this, but I mean with the gym.
With the
I mean,
gym.
in the first, it's quite funny now when you're saying like the new members don't know me, because in the early years, I was here
Like you would be,
16
yeah.
hours a day, every single day. Like we used to have, I don't know if we should ever talk about this, but we used to have the sofa bed.
The sofa, yeah.
Like we used to have a sofa in the corner, and the amount of, you know, I'd be here from like 6 o'clock in the morning till 9:30 at night, and then the idea of having to drive home an hour to know that I was going to be back in the morning.
Yeah.
The amount of late night calls that Hannah got from me, where I was like, I'm just going to crash here, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she just didn't see me for months and months and months, and never once was it an issue. She was probably just happy that I was out of the house.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But like you're saying about the sacrifice you made going to America, which is massive. But when I spoke to you sometimes, you weren't even in Florida sometimes. So she was in Florida on her
Oh
own.
yeah, well this is the thing. So I'd fly out. So we flew out there, and
Yeah.
then there'd be obviously. So it was amazing. Like the fund that invested in Suji, they had this amazing ground floor office space that was like every office space that you've ever seen on like a film. You know, like the
Yeah.
Google offices where it's like there's a ping pong table and
Right,
snacks. and
okay, yeah.
It was one of those sorts of
Yeah.
gigs. Where you look around, and it's like, are people actually working,
Yeah.
or
Are they just being creative?
Yeah, just being
They're
creative.
Just thinking.
And then basically we had an apartment in the same block.
Okay.
So we were on the second floor. So I had the shortest commute in the world. I
Yeah.
just walked
Boom,
downstairs.
straight downstairs.
But then a lot of my role, I'm the chief commercial officer of that company. So we've been selling a lot to like big sports colleges out there, like big D1 colleges and professional teams. And obviously there's only so many of those in Central Florida.
Of course, yeah.
And we wanted to try and get some of like the biggest names in American sport. So I spent a lot of time on the road, going out to physically meet these colleges and these teams. So yeah, I was in, I don't know how many states that I managed to cover in a very
Yeah.
short period of time. And it was very gun ho. A lot of like how this was done. I would message, you know, a school or a team, they would say, hey, like we're actually free on Friday. It'd be a Wednesday, and I'd be like, cool, I'm in the area. I wasn't.
Of course you were.
So suddenly I'd have to like figure out how to get a flight to Missouri, and I'd try and maximize my time there by meeting as many local teams and stuff while I was in that area. And that's essentially what I've just been doing this last week. So I was over in starting like the Northeast. So I was like in the New York State, Connecticut, Massachusetts sort of spot, but then suddenly had the opportunity to meet a really big college and team in Dallas, Texas. So suddenly I was like, okay, well, I've got to figure out how to get there, and I didn't have a return flight. So yesterday, to get my flight back, I ended up in Alabama. So there are no direct flights to London Gatwick from Birmingham, Alabama. So I ended up having to. I caught a flight from Alabama to Atlanta, and then Atlanta to JFK in New York, and then New York back to here. And I booked that at 7:20 of the morning of my flight. So now we're here chatting, mate.
Now we're here chatting.
That's it. This was in the diary, so I knew how to get back for it.
It was in the diary. Thank God for that. It was in the diary. And Hannah had you home as well, which is good.
Yeah.
So you can help with Arlo.
Yeah, and then well, for a day.
You do have a little one, right?
Yeah. So, and then this morning I was like, I've got to go. Sorry.
She's like, oh, great. No, that's amazing. So what's the future of this place then, dude?
Oh, well, so that's a good question. So
yeah, it is a good question.
Yeah. And it's funny because obviously we talk about it a lot.
We do.
And there's obviously a fair amount that maybe like, members aren't privy to, but essentially like the lease for this unit will soon be coming to an end. And there are ongoing conversations with the landlord here about possible options about what our next lease is going to look like. It might be in this unit. There's also another amazing unit within this building that we've been looking at. So there are a lot of exciting opportunities which are ahead, and
really cool.
And we're really conscious of the fact that we've got such an amazing thing here, and there is a huge amount of responsibility that comes with that in terms of the community which is here as well, and making sure that it's protected. So we've got some exciting and fairly stressful conversations that I've had with landlord and trying to get that sorted. So they've been ongoing for the last 6 months.
6 months, easy. Yeah. It's been crazy.
But we've got a lot of cool things going. We've obviously spoken a bit about recruiting another coach. So we are toying with the idea of recruiting from outside of our ecosystem for the first time in forever, just to get some sort of fresh eyes on what we're doing, which I think will be invaluable. We've got some new kit that's coming in, getting reordered, sort of replacing some of the older pieces. We're fixing the rig, which is exciting.
Hopefully, fingers crossed that works
so
out well.
we've been getting some quotes for that, and so there's a few tweaks and things that are coming.
Back, which is good. And let's not panic. We're not leaving. We're not going to suddenly move upstairs.
Oh
We
no.
We are Royal Docks.
Just to be clear, we're not suddenly going to be in like West London. Do you know what I mean? Like we're going to be
guys, come.
we're going to be either be here or within this building.
Yeah, within walking distance.
In an identical unit. Yeah,
exactly. That.
Yeah, so
which is really cool.
Which is good, and if that does happen, that'll be really cool because it gives us a complete blank slate to put in, because this unit as we have it here is a phenomenal space and is obviously our home, but it was built kind of certainly without any knowledge of how to operate a gym or how things should flow. So if we did move to a new unit, it'd be really exciting to really build it sort of complete to purpose.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think, as you say, this place works really well, but there's things that we spoke about that we can make tweaks and how we would, that would have been better this way around, and that would have been better that way around. It's all well and good when I need to build something.
Yes.
It needs to go up. We need to get it going.
Yeah.
And we're going to recruit your dad again, I hope.
What, old man Marshall?
Old man Marshall to come in.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if he could do it again.
No, he could definitely do it again.
He still loves the fact that so he calls like this big wall behind us, he calls the Wonder Wall.
Wonder Wall.
There's more timber and screws in that wall than
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
After meeting him when we did the refurb here,
Yeah.
But he gets it done.
He likes to over-engineer everything.
But he gets it done.
He does.
He gets it done real quick.
Oh, he was talking about like people who've been instrumental behind the scenes for this place. Like, this wouldn't have happened without him. Like, he was talking about the office that we used to have. Like, when we were building this unit, when we were building the gym, he, I think for like a month he stayed here.
Doesn't surprise me.
And he's never had to do that. He sort of saw what my ambitions were, and he's obviously a career builder, so he's very aware of his skill set. And like this place and the success of this place and all the things that have come from it, really, it's just a huge amount it should be attributed to what he sacrificed for me.
A huge amount. I mean, to a point, the only time when we redid this place I saw you do was paint. Even then, I had to paint round the clock on the wall because I had to change the clock, and I was like, did you not take it off the wall to paint it?
Because when I put that clock on the first time, I remember doing it at the end of a day. And when you're so tired and like a fiddly job, and I can remember it took me about 25 minutes just to hang that clock. And I can remember when I hung that clock thinking,
it's never coming off.
This thing's never coming down ever again.
No, that was funny. But even then, with your dad, like his engineering skills as well as he looked at things, you just tell him what you want and he'll build it. Like the light board that we've got now. That was an idea. You went, I want it to look cool and big.
I literally, like, on the back of like a napkin, I reckon, I said, so the idea with our whiteboard, and again, for people who aren't our members, we've got instead of a traditional whiteboard, we have a pane of glass, which has got some LEDs that sit behind it, which illuminate the whole thing. And the idea with that, the concept behind that was that every single session in here starts at the whiteboard. Of
course.
So if that is the case, why that's such a focal point.
Yeah.
Make that something really cool and interesting. So I just said, I was like, look, well, if we have a pane of glass, I can go on Amazon and buy some LEDs. I was like, old man Marshall, you know how to use timber. I was like, let's make it happen. And he, at no point, well, that's a lie. I was going to say he's never said no, but he certainly was like, he always makes the mistake of going, yes, it's possible. And as soon as I hear that, I'm like, well, let's go, mate. Let's go. And it was quite funny because with that, I would be left to source the materials. So LEDs are easy to find, source them. I was like, I need a pane of glass. I was like, that's so easy to find. So I got the measurements and ordered the glass. Didn't take into account that the glass comes at different thicknesses.
Yeah.
That glass might as well be like bomb-proof. It is the heaviest pane of glass ever.
It is, yeah.
So when it arrived, he looked at it and he was just like, and you want this just to magically float? He's like, couldn't order some glass that was like half the weight. And I was like, well, if I'd have known, then.
Yep.
So, there's been, along the way, there's been so many funny stories.
Yeah, there's some funny stories and some chuckles and some effing and jeffing and you're having a laugh.
And some stress and all the other bits that come with it.
Yeah, but I mean, the place looks amazing. I mean, this, to our newer members, they've always seen this, but before it was like a light grey and white.
It was all white,
new revamp, and mate, it's coming on really well, and I'm looking forward to the stuff in the future as well.
Yeah.
I'm looking for how we're going to evolve.
Well, that's the thing. I think we mustn't ever get stagnant.
And we never have. I mean, that's something, being here for as long as I have, I've seen the place evolve and the ideas change, and I know we're going to keep moving forward because we have these conversations in the background.
Yeah.
So I know it's always going to evolve, which I love, and I'm looking forward to the next chapters.
Yeah, well, it is interesting. And I suppose on that, speaking of moving forward, we're also potentially taking, not even a step backward, but revisiting our CrossFit affiliateship as well, which I think is something that we should probably talk about.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it'd be good to come back to CrossFit. I mean, in my opinion, working for staff, I think is really important for me, but it's also really important for the community as well. Yeah. I think with the Open coming up, and it'll be amazing to be back on that crew again.
It'll be interesting to see if they'll have us back.
I really hope they do.
I
really do. Yeah. But, if they don't, then that's a bridge we'll cross when we come to it.
Absolutely. But so just on that, so we've submitted resubmitted our application. An essay has been drafted. So essentially when you apply, you
You have to write an essay of
to write an
why
essay.
you want to become.
Why do you want to
affiliate.
become affiliate? And it's quite funny because when we did affiliate the first time, we were we were CrossFit's global 10,000th affiliate.
Yeah, I wonder if that video is still about.
I hope not.
If you YouTube it, the 10,000th affiliate.
You'd see a young and ambitious and bright-eyed, bushy-tailed.
People should try and find that. That'd be an awesome video.
Well, yes, you actually get to see what this unit looked like
Yeah,
when it was completely bare bones.
I remember that. I remember coming in to have my interview with you, and I'd watched it, and I was like, right,
I've got a meeting with a kid.
I'm going to mention this as well because you said there was going to be a sign somewhere hidden in the gym.
It's
you never did hide that sign though.
No, it's not a sign. It's written on the back of the.
Oh, is it?
On the back of the timbers up here, on the back of the warble. Yeah.
Do you remember what it was going to say?
Yeah.
What was it going to say?
Be the hero of your own story.
That's the one. That's the one. I remember looking for it when I come in. Like, where is it? Where is it?
No. It's written just in like a carpenter's pencil on the back of that warble.
Which I think's a great way to kind of lead that off. And well, thank you for coming on your show. I suppose it's your show, not even my
it's
show.
Definitely not my. None of this has ever been my show. It's always been.
It's going to be
everyone
our
else's.
show, the gym show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, and hopefully the new members get to see you and meet you in person soon.
Maybe
you even coach again.
Coaching. Well, I don't know. I'll be drinking coffee in a corner, schmoozing, doing what I do best, mate.
I'll put muscle ups on the program for the day you're coaching.
Mate, we will see.
Muscle ups and squat snatch.
Mate, I'm still as you just said. I will just go back on what I just said. I am still the boss. So if you program that, I'll just program something else.
Fair one. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks, guys.
Take care, mate.
Thank you, Dan.